Hello, welcome to this week's episode of What One Thing, one business, one story and one lesson to take away and action every week for small business owners looking to grow. I'm Hayley Baxter.
And I'm Phil Davenport, and today we have the pleasure of talking to Hazel Woodward. Hazel, might I start you off with some relatively quick-fire questions? Could we start with, how long have you been in business for, please?
So I've had this business, it's 5 years in November this year, so yeah, 5 years.
Very nice. And do you have any staff currently?
I do. We are a team of 16, believe it or not.
Lovely. And I do know the answer to this, but I'll ask you. And do you sell direct to business or direct to consumer?
A direct business.
I love it. And then there's only two more questions, so we're nearly there. Are you the sole owner of your business, or are you part of a team of directors?
So I started it as a solo founder and then accepted investment, so now have a shareholder.
Very snazzy. I like it. And so you founded the business yourself?
Yeah.
So talk me through then the journey that went from pre-business to, I presume, some kind of spark or an idea or a concept or a revelation, and then into how you started the business.
So my business is a social media agency, and when I started it, I did not have designs to grow this massive team that I have and have all of these clients. It kind of happened by accident. But I started my business actually in COVID. So you have like COVID babies, like my business is my COVID baby. So I was working in a corporate role, in a marketing department. Kind of previous employment, I was a teacher for 10 years and then had my children, became really poorly and just like decided to kind of change career. So COVID hit, it was lockdown and I was forced to go into the office and do the commute, and I asked for flexible working hours because the children were in primary school and they had like different start times and different finish times. But unfortunately my request for flexible working was denied. My request for working from home, although I'd done it all the way through lockdown, had been denied. And I got my husband drunk one Wednesday night and I was like, babe, I really think I can make a go of this. I really think I can do it. And he said to me, he was like, babe, if you want to do it, if you can match your salary before you hand your notice in, then let's do it. So that was the Wednesday night. The Thursday night after work, I literally rang everyone in my contacts list and I handed my notice in on a Friday. So that's kind of where it started.
Wow, that is... I mean, what an incredible salesperson you are, Hazel, if nothing else. I mean, you just literally, you did something that almost every entrepreneur is terrified of, which is you picked up the phone and called people to ask them for what you wanted.
So tell us, you have to share how those conversations went. What did you say to people? How did you know what you were going to offer them? Tell us all about that.
I think you make it sound like really overwhelming. I had a really good relationship with my network already. Obviously, we were acquaintances and colleagues. Well, they were customers of my employer. They sold into dental practices, and through my role, I developed relationships with these dentists. And so I literally just picked up the phone and I was like, hey, it's Hazel. Like, I'm doing this new thing. Like, your socials are really rubbish. I think I can do a really great job. Like, how about you just let me do them for you? And they were like, yeah, okay, what's the price? And I'm like, this is how much it is. They're like, yeah, okay, fine, when can you get started? I was like, tomorrow. Literally, that was it.
Oh, that is, you know, what's really, I don't know what the right word is, maybe refreshing about that is you can go on, people pay to go on expensive courses to learn what you've just said. and that's true.
And do you know what? I think people like make sales come across really icky. And I think a lot of these really expensive sales courses, they overcomplicate everything. If you are a genuine person and you have a genuine service that can get your client out of their pain or problem that they're in, and you present it to them in a friendly, non-committal way, then sales doesn't have to be icky at all. It's just, you have to choose the right people. Like, I was selective on who it is that I went with. It was like, I would really like to work with you. I think I could make a really good impact on your social media. I think you'd be really great to work with. So I didn't just go through everyone. I cherry picked. And luckily, everyone who I approached said yes.
And something So I'm an accountant, I run an accountancy practice. And how did you come up with your price? That's what I'm interested in, because pricing is always a sticky subject for new business owners particularly. But you sounded very confident in that, again, when you were just explaining how it all happened.
So I actually did it wrong. I did what everyone does. They go and have a look and see what their competitors are doing. Kind of figured out, okay, if I just pitch just slightly under them, it makes it a really attractive proposition, so it makes it a no-brainer. And kind of just went from there. Obviously at that point it was just me, so it was just my time that I was having to factor in. So yeah, so that we I undervalued my time and how much time it would take, but I had this goal in mind that I needed to get X amount in so I could hand my notice in. Obviously over time, we've been in business 5 years now, the prices that we charged then, we don't charge those prices now because we've got a lot bigger overheads. Whilst we are an online business and our overheads, are a lot less compared to like a product-based business, or someone's got properties and things like that. I think you call it a lean business. We still obviously have to factor that in because we need to make sure that we can obviously cover all of our overheads. We can pay our corporation tax. I've got like a director, a shareholder that needs to have his profits. Obviously I need a salary, so it is something that we did get better over time. And I worked really closely with my accountant, like really closely. We had a weekly call. He was more like a finance coach, so he showed me how to understand my profit and loss. He showed me how to do forecasting. He showed me like, Hazel, if you want to get to this many clients, you're going to have this many staff. What impact is that going to have? What things you need to put in place to preempt that? And if I didn't have that support, I don't think my business would be where it is now. And that was really intense for about 12 months. And now, like, I hardly speak to him and then when we do like speak to each other on Zoom, he's like, I've looked at your profit and loss. I was like, yes, I know, I looked at it yesterday, I paid my VAT, it's done, like, my money's in the bank for my corporation tax, like, can you do my accounts, please? I don't want to get it paid. And it's like, I'm telling him, I'm like, mate, come on, let's just do this thing, like, please.
Oh, I love it, totally love that, that's amazing. And again, that's so refreshing because many business owners don't embrace that. And equally, it sounds like you work with a really good accountant. Many business owners, unfortunately, don't seem to manage to connect with somebody who will offer that level of support. Many just do the kind of once a year thing. Not very helpful, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, so his name's Rez, and he's a dental specific accountant. My business is dentists and dentistry practices, so it made sense for me to connect with someone in that space. And I can't overvaluate that, how important that support is. Like, I could be having a wobble, especially in the early days of my business, being like, oh my God, like, I'm losing clients, I don't understand what's going wrong. And he'd be like, Hazel, just take a breath, your numbers are solid, you know what you're doing, it's just a blip in the road. And having that someone there to lean on that's not necessarily interested in how much money I make, like, he doesn't get a kickback of how much profit we make, but he's there purely to support me, and that was really invaluable.
I can imagine, and I might be incredibly wrong on this, but I've been a high energy person myself, Hazel. I imagine that you are incredibly high energy, and I imagine that, was it Rez that we spoke about, was maybe the yang to your yin, where you were kind of, let's drive, and he was, okay, fantastic, let's just make sure we've got those foundations before. What we've seen on this podcast and what I see day to day is that business owners almost create their own prison, because what they've not done is what yourself and Rez have done there, and create that, how much margin do we need to grow, rather than, do you know what, competitor X is charging £12.50 per seat, I'm going to go £12.49 and bring on all this business, and suddenly find that now you are completely working in the business because you undervalued it, and that kind of that process. So I absolutely love that. And I also love that when you've picked up the phone with people, you've done two things. One, you've executed, so you've just gone with a plan and just phone. But two, you know your own values. So it feels like, and I'd be interested to know, when you made those phone calls, you were more, it would be lovely to work with you, but if we don't, we don't. Then I think where people get trapped inside their own heads, and I'm desperate, like the first job interview I describe it as, are you happy to work weekends? Yeah, of course I am. Happy to do unpaid overtime? Yeah, of course I am. Whereas it feels like you went in with a sense of your own worth and value. Where does it come from, Hazel? Have you got any tips on how you've created that?
So I don't know where it comes from. I think like energy wise, I'm really passionate about my team and about the business that we've got and the difference that we can make to our clients. And that is really what drives me. I remember when I took on so I started my business on finite, and then by the 1st of December I had to take on my first freelancer. So within 4 weeks I was like totally miscalculated how much work I was going to get, and so I had to like take on a freelancer, and that was great. And then a few months after that I hired my best friend as my first employee, like legitimate PAYE employee, and that was terrifying. And I remember being sat in the car next to my husband on the way home from the food shop, and I'd be like, well, what if I mess up, or what if I can't keep it? What if I can't pay her salary? She's got a mortgage to pay. She's got a daughter in nursery. She's got her own bills. That's like down to me and the decisions that I make. What if I mess up really badly and I have to let her go? And my husband, he's very much like the calm one of us, dead laid back. And he was like, Hazel, at the end of the day, if it messes up, she can always get a job in Tesco. Like, it's not your fault. Like, you need to obviously do everything you can to grow the business and keep her in employment. But ultimately, if businesses fail all the time, and it's like, you can't then blame yourself if she has to then go get a job in Tesco or have to go and get a job somewhere else, because people leave anyway and things go wrong, and like you can't always be thinking of the negative, and you can't have that hold you back from growing. And she was with me for 2 years, and then she left in the end and got a job doing being a teaching assistant, because that's where her passion lied. But it was, it is terrifying. Business is like terrifying, I'm not gonna lie.
And so you talked there about taking on your first employee, which it is scary, and I think that is a really pivotal moment in lots of business journeys. Now you've got a team of 16.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, how like you go from being extremely concerned about taking on one employee to all of these employees, and how the journey you've had to go, because it's very different though yourself as well. Managing a team of 1 or team of 3 is very different than managing a team of 16, and having that culture in your business. Talk to us a little bit around that kind of journey.
Yeah, okay, so like I said, my first freelancer, she works from home. She was obviously freelance, and she worked remote, and then obviously that came with its own challenges for me. I've never, apart from managing children's behaviour in a classroom, was never a manager. And then obviously you have your own expectations of how you do things within your business and the client experience that you want to create. So it's about making sure that they then execute your vision. So I'm huge on communication. And I think Layla Hormozy once said that clients only ever complain because there's been a miscommunication somewhere. You've obviously not communicated with them the outcome, which they think they're going to get a very different outcome, and that's where complaints come from. So our ethos and values within the business is communication, both externally with clients and internally between the teams. But to grow from 1 to 16 has been, I think once you get to like 3, you're like, okay, I can do this now. Like, and it's like 3 to 16 is not actually that difficult, because it depends how you structure your teams. So we're obviously a social media agency, so we have a content strategy team, so they work within their kind of zone of genius. Then we have like a graphics team, so we've got video editors and graphic designers. And then we've got more like an admin team, so they're responsible for like liaising with clients and scheduling posts and getting clients to review and approve their content. And then we have Claire, who is my only cost predominantly budget, and that is the fundamental reason why it's allowed me to get more people, so more specialist resource, but a super affordable rate. And there's a lot of misconceptions around hiring internationally, and I've been really lucky that the team that we've recruited, they've been with me for 3 years, and they are excellent. And I don't pay them a UK salary, but I pay them over and above what they would get in their local currency, so they see the value. And they're not, I think a lot of the misconceptions is you pay them a really low rate and then you're just getting them for work, essentially working for nothing. But for me, it was really important. It's like, okay, you're working for a UK company, we're a startup, and I want to give you a higher rate of pay than what you would get in your local country. But obviously, from a business perspective, there has to be a benefit to hiring remote than hiring in the UK. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's something that, especially in the world of IT that I work in, a lot of people have got employees in South Africa, and we try to avoid employees in North Korea, of course, because that could be a dangerous one. How did you go about that recruitment or hiring process? Did you go through an agency, or did you kind of gun it yourself?
Yeah, so the first two we used an agency, and it was the most bizarre recruitment experience I've ever experienced. It was like a speed date. You literally get a 5-minute interview with this person, and then you just have to kind of guess that they're going to get they're going to fit in with your team. And to be fair, they worked out really nicely, and they're still with me, and that's great. But then the rest of our employees actually come through friends and family recommendation. So we've got 3 siblings that work with us. We've got a mum and daughter that work with us. We've got 2 sisters and a cousin. Whilst it's the reason why I've chose to do it that way is because we're hot on values. Everything within our business, apart from video editing and graphic design, can be taught. So I would rather recruit for, are they going to fit into the team? Are they motivated? Are they self-started? They've got good attention to detail, rather than, can you write a really good social media caption? So.
Sorry, my brain's just going, there's so many things. I've got so many questions. I think, were you nervous about, because I feel like it was a conscious choice to recruit internationally. Were you nervous about doing that? Or was it just like, I don't know, you just embraced it, I suppose?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a backstory, as always. So before I made the decision to recruit internationally, I did actually have a UK team, and we had an office, and I just paid a deposit for a bigger office. So, I wasn't working from home. We had our place of work, and we went through like a lot of startup businesses. They go through this huge growth phase, and then you'll know this as an accountant, Hayley. Then sometimes the wheels kind of fall off a little bit, and then you have to go through like a shrink before you can then grow again. And that's exactly what happened. So we had, I'd overstretched ourselves, I'd invested in the wrong things, mismanaged my finances. So I had a really strong, difficult decision to make. And the decision was, unfortunate, I had to make redundant all of my UK team, apart from Claire, which was she was my only person. So I went from managing the business to fully being back in, writing captions, creating graphics, literally full on. I felt like I'd taken a huge step back, but it was really needed. And then obviously working alongside Rez and getting my financial understanding, much stronger. So it was more I can't do this forever. I need help. Can't afford UK. Where can I go? And then it was at that point I'd accepted investment. So business partner said, well, we have people in South Africa. Have you thought about that? Or this the Philippines? So they kind of started the thought process. They put us in touch with the agency, and then we decided to recruit from the Philippines. So literally all of my team now are from the Philippines, apart from Claire. And after 3 years, last March, I went and saw them all. I got on a plane after them asking me for 3 years, when are you coming? And I was like, oh no, I can't afford it, or oh no. And then at Christmas, I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to go and see him. So I went on the Thursday and got back on the Monday, and I was absolutely knackered.
Wow. I'm not going to lie, and Hayley, who does some of my books, will tell you I would have gone for a minimum of 2 weeks to go and really make sure that I'd visited, I understood the culture, maybe dined at some restaurants. I don't know. I mean, but I think it's important. But wow, you've had such a fast track story. How do you find it when you talk to other business owners? Do you find many who've been on the same kind of whirlwind journey that you've been on?
And this is going to make me sound really big-headed, but no. I think a lot of business owners, they kind of feel stuck. They've made, like you said, they make a prison for themselves, or they kind of put themselves in a box. So a lot of the business owners that I speak to, they're like, oh, I really can't wait to get to a 5k month. I really can't wait to get to a 5k month. And I'm like, that's amazing. That's such a great target to have, because it's such a pivotal moment. Whereas I'm like, in my head thinking, well, I did that in my first 2 months. You need that drive. If you just got to go for it. So now I'm looking at, I want to turn over £500,000 next year. That's my goal. So sometimes it can be quite hard to relate, because it's like I'm up here and they're coming after me, but obviously at a slower rate. And I understand that makes me come across like so egotistical and like so overconfident. And that's not how I wanted it to be portrayed. It is just difficult sometimes to relate to that. But I do work now with some mentees. So I started mentoring other social media managers that accidentally found themselves as an agency. I didn't know what they were doing. And so I've mentored a few people like that. And that's been really great, because I can see like the parts of their business and how we do things, and I can give them really in-depth support. But now I'm getting business owners from other niches saying to me, Hazel, I really like your style. I think like your no nonsense kind of like approach is just exactly what I need. I need someone to whip me into shape. And that's great for me, because that challenges me, because I'm like, okay, well, how does your business work? How does this fit in? How does that bit fit in? But a lot of the lessons that I've learned from growing my business are actually transferable to them. You just kind of got to put it in like their model, if that makes sense. So yeah, I love business. I'm dead motivated by money though, and not everyone is. So you've got to just find that thing that people are motivated by and tap into that.
I think that sentence in itself is really good, because lots of people will say to you that money can't be your only motivation and things like that, but actually the truth of it is, especially at the beginning, it is like you know, like you said, you need to match your salary. That's your only motivation in a way. So I think that's really good and I think sometimes people are afraid of being honest about that, because gurus, coaches, business mentors, whatever you want to call them, they always, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have other things that you want to do as well and the other reasons for it, but the truth is money's a big part of it. It is, and I think sometimes people are a bit nervous of actually saying that out loud.
I would not agree with that anymore, honestly. I think somewhere along the lines it's become shameful to talk about money and how much you earn and your revenue goals and things like that. But then I also think on the flip side as well, you do have a lot of these business coaches and business gurus that have recorded a self-study course and say this is the key to get to £5,000 months, but it's not the key. The key is doing the work. You can buy course after course after course, but if you never actually do it, you're never going to get there. And that's really what it's kind of come back to what Phil said earlier, like, I'm an executor, I just did it, but that's my personality. Like I set a target and I will literally, I'm blinkered, I'll just go to it and I will figure it out on the way. I don't have a plan, like I just figure it out as I go along. That is in every aspect of my life, fitness, being a mom, being a wife, business, everything, being a friend. We'll just figure it out as we go along, because that's where the memories are made and the experiences happen. If you have a plan, like, I don't know, I just find it a bit boring taking stuff off a list.
I think one of and we dare not mention the ADHD beast in here, but I think one of the tricky bits, because I'm very much like you, if I want to run a marathon, I'll say, right, I'm going to go out running every day. And that'll be my plan, and I'll execute it, and I'll run a marathon because I've been out running every day. However, I also accept that a better plan would be to say, right, week 1, I'm going to build this way. I think for me personally, it's often good to have a plan so that I can fail to meet the plan and I can look back on the plan and say, oh, that's where I went wrong. I mean, Hayley will tell you that I come up with probably, between 5,000 and 10,000 ideas for the podcasting and life and generally. But Hayley's phenomenal at really just executing and being an anchor and maybe a bit of a yang to my yin on this podcast. It sounds like, is it Riz? Was it Riz that you were saying? Is probably, yeah, it's obviously the anchor. For me, the big piece about money, and I'm really interested to know from an emotional point of view, because we take huge risk, don't we? We do take the stance that we may one day have to say to our employees, I understand you've got a mortgage, I understand you've got kids, but things are not going well, and so it's right that we get the rewards for that. Emotionally, how did you handle, or how did you get through that point of saying to your UK staff, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to make redundancies within the business?
That was like the most traumatic experience of my life, and I'm not being dramatic there either. Like I barely slept, I was running on empty, wasn't eating. Like, to say it was stressful is an understatement, but I think the things that we put in place, so I worked with a HR company Because obviously everyone was on contracts, and I took really great advice from a HR company, and I was saying, like, I really don't want to have to let them go. Like, what can I do? So we put them on short-term hours. So I basically sat them down and said, like, this is the situation. I really don't want to have to let you go. I need to keep the business afloat. So this is kind of like my temporary plaster solution. I need to put you all on short-term hours. Yes, it means it's going to be a drop in your salary, but at least you're getting something. Like, I have absolutely no problem if you go and work elsewhere in between. But when we do get back to full-time hours, obviously it's on the understanding that you come back full-time, or as and when, like, as we increase the hours. Conversations are so hard to have, because as a solopreneur, yes, I've got a business partner. He owns 35% of my business, but essentially everything it's on me. It's on my shoulders. And they were really hard conversations to have. And no one likes having those kind of conversations, but it's part of what makes you better, makes you not want to have those conversations again. So you make better business decisions. You don't, like, for me, I think, obviously I was like, the business was making loads of money, so I was like, oh yeah, let's have more staff, we'll go and get one more, oh yeah, we'll have one more, oh yeah, they can do that. Whereas now it's like I'm a bit more patient, I wait a bit more until, like, I know, like, there are red flags, like content is, the team are overstretched, so you look for markers of, like, why the team are overstretched. They're working longer hours, they're putting in more overtime, productivity's gone down, they're like, I'm really struggling. So you kind of wait until you're, like, fully stretched, and then go, right, okay, well, we'll get someone on a few hours a week. And it's like typical corporate, which I hate, because that's what it was like when I worked in a corporate job. I was like, I really need some help. Okay, we can have, like, 2 hours extra a week. Like, that's not going to do anything. But that's kind of, now I'm in that situation as a business owner, I understand, because you want to make sure that, there's going to be a return on that investment, whether it's, increased efficiency, more systems, better client experience. But ultimately, every pound that you spend within your business has to have a return on investment, even if it's not through sales and marketing. Everything has a return.
That's music to my ears. How do you go about? So we talked about the clients at the beginning and how you got those. How does that work today? Like 5 years on, how do you keep, you got the same clients, and you obviously got desires to grow. How do you get your clients into the business today?
So dentistry is very insular. So they won't recommend people to each other unless you kind of hit a certain threshold, which sounds really daft. So we've had clients, we've still got them, clients have been with us now like 3-4 years, and only now, after working with us for such a long time, will they recommend us to their friends and their other dental partners and their colleagues. So a lot of our business does come through from word of mouth. So for example, last week in a dental group forum that I'm in, someone said, I need someone to help me with my social media. There was 14 comments and 10 of them mentioned me. And that generated 5 leads, and I've closed 1 of them so far. So it really is niche dependent, and dentistry is quite different to like a normal niche. So word of mouth referrals, we work with partners. So we only offer organic social media marketing. So we get a lot of inquiries for paid ads. That's not what we do. So we have a paid ads partner. So we refer our clients to him, and he will send leads to us. We have someone who does PPC. Again, it's like we send leads to each other. We have someone who does websites, and it's kind of been really strategic in who we partnered with, other service providers. They give a really good quality standard of service like what we do, and we'll send referrals backwards and forwards to each other. There's no referral kickback in that. So there's not like, I sent you this, so you now need to pay me X amount. It's this is my client, can you help them? And they'll go, yeah. Or and someone will go, this is my client Hazel, they need social media, have you got space? Yeah. And then we do a little bit of cold outbound. That gives me the ick. I actually can't bring myself to do that now. So I outsource that to one of my team. I delegate that to one of my team. So she logs in as me on my Facebook, and she will find dentists, and we've got like a script that she'll send, and I see the messages go out on my messenger, and I'm like, but it works.
That's really interesting that from the beginning, like the beginning of your story, then that at the end, it's like you've gone full circle, isn't it?
The difference is The people at the start, I knew them on a personal level. These are people that I don't know from Adam. I could walk past them in the street and I wouldn't know, so it is purely cold. And I know how I feel when I get cold messages. And I'm like, oh, just go away. But it's powerful. It is powerful, and especially if you follow up. And then when you couple that with our reputation, or my reputation, I say people come to lift for me, even though I don't do any of the work, but it's my reputation because I'm the face of the business. So I think, that and the cold outbound, it really does work. And I am so busy, I'm not able to do it consistently. So I'll do 10 today, and then like 3 weeks will pass. I'll do some more today. Whereas the person who does it, she sends 20 messages day in, day out. She follows them. It's all tracked on a spreadsheet, so we can see the conversion rate. So she just does it, and it's great because it means I don't have to.
I must admit, to my shame as always, I started sending LinkedIn messages to people, how's business, blah, blah, blah. And the issue that I got was too many people responded. And I had not thought about, if you send 5 messages a day and then people start responding, you're not just sending 5 messages a day, it soon starts to snowball. And you want to be nice and polite to people. And often I was having really good conversations, but then I was also spending kind of an hour and a half just chatting to people. And you can probably already tell that I can chat to people for days. So it was really starting to have a bit of an impact on the business. How did you find the kind of perfect script between being pleasant and, not just, hi, my name's Hazel, we offer this is this much, how are you interested? And at the same time, not being too fluffy where you're going to just end up in the what we'll call the Phil nightmare of having 1,000 people talking to you about what they had for tea last night.
Great question. So we don't do the, hi, how's business? Or hi, who's running your social media? We don't do that. So we go, hi, and then we mention their first name. Obviously, it shows that we've found who they are. So we usually go for practice principals. They're the owners, the decision makers, people who hold the purse strings. No point going to like a dental nurse because they don't have the decision power. And then we will go and find their handle on Instagram and find out how many followers they've got on Instagram. And we'll be like, hey, I've checked out your social media. Your Instagram is just not working. Why don't you book in for a free 30-minute or free 15-minute social media audit? No strings attached, not a sales call. I just want to give you some advice on how it can help. And honestly, the most you get, I think, in the thousands of messages we've sent back, we've had one person say, I haven't got time for a Zoom call, just give me the tips now. And I just messaged back saying, well, I'd like to go through it live, so you can understand what it is. And no, I haven't got time for that. And I'm like, well, I'm really sorry, then I'm going to have to withdraw that offer. That's one out of 1,000 people. So again, you have to try and qualify them. And the feedback that we've had from people from those cold messages is that they love the fact that it's personalised. They love the fact that we've done research before sending them. So it shows that we've taken the time to actually look them up. And it doesn't look like a mass message, even though it is. And that the offer was something of value. I know it's a sales call. Liminally, they know it's a sales call, but it's under the guise of, let me give you some help and support. And some of them don't turn into anything, and some of them do just come for the help and support. And that's cool because that gives me credibility. And then they'll remember me when they do need social media. So like, oh, Hazel was great. She gave me some really good advice. I wonder what she's up to. And then they will eventually come back. So there's no win-lose, it's win-win. We either sign the customer or we start a relationship, and that's how we did it. I'm
going to contradict you because I'm a terrible person, as we all know, but I don't think it is that cold. I think the genius of what you're doing, and I think it is genius, is I feel that it's more like I'm a mechanic and I've heard somebody's car come past and I can hear a tick or a bang or whatever, because what you're doing is you're directly looking, and I suppose in marketing it's a really, you found the perfect point, because you're directly looking at their Instagram and you're able to say to them either, wow, your Instagram's working, it looks hot, we could maybe add a few points of value, or it looks like your Instagram isn't working, but we can see you're out there trying to put an effort in. You could really value our services. And I do love that, because I don't think it's as cold as you think, and I can see why it works so well. It's very, very smart. I think the other reason why it works so well is we pre-qualify them. So we know our ideal client. Okay, so we know the dental practices that stay with us for the long term and have an average lifetime spend are practices where it's usually one owner. We've got maybe 3 or 4 associate dentists, so those like other dentists within the practice. And then the things that you look for on their Instagram are, it's all made with Canva, so it's all templates. There's not a single picture of the team.
They might post for a few days and then nothing for weeks and weeks. They've never updated the stories. So we kind of pre-qualify them before we even start the message. So if we came across someone who had like 100,000 followers and it was really engaged and really high polished like social media content, we wouldn't approach them because they've already got their social media strategy nailed. And we wouldn't, if it's already working, we wouldn't be able to add to that because it's already working. More likely they're already using another agency. Fine. I'm not here to like poach anyone else's business. What we do is we pre-qualify them and go, have they got less than 1,000 followers? Yes. Did they post in the last 6 months? No. Perfect. Is everything Canva templates? Yeah. Right. That's an ideal lead for us. So we already kind of are pre-qualifying who it is we can instantly give value to before we then find them on LinkedIn, find them on Facebook. And also the key there actually is we tried LinkedIn messages and we never got any single response. So it's knowing where your ideal customer hangs out. And dentists, no matter how much you ask them, they say that they hate Facebook. They are all on Facebook. So, and it took me 5 years to figure that out. Like, why they say that they're on Facebook, but they are. And then I was like, let's just go like full in on Facebook, and that is it. So we kind of binned off the cold emails and we binned off like the LinkedIn messages, and we just went full in on Facebook.
I think you've packed so much into the 5 years of running your business. You really, really have. And I think what's come through in a lot of what you've talked about is that you've got really strong processes across lots of areas, which I can see has really helped in the journey. And again, it's what everybody talks about, isn't it? Is there an area in your business that you'd like to improve on?
So, systems and processes are my bag. Like, it is what has allowed me to step out from the day-to-day and into more of the management stuff. So our big thing at the moment is SOPs. So, I'm trying to get the team to think about, okay, the systems that we've got up until this point, so we've got 65. So the processes that have got us to this point are fantastic. And they're massively different to the systems and processes we had when we had 10, 20, 30 clients. But now I'm like, okay, so I've got designs I want to grow. I want to get to, my target is 585,000 turnover because that will value my business at an X amount, which is what I'm striving for because I've done my numbers and I know my EBITDA. So we need basically 130 clients to get to that number. So basically got to double the size of my business. So the team will say, oh, Hazel, I think there's a process gap here. Can we tweak this? And I'll go, bring me a solution that will work with 130 clients because I'm not going to change something if it's only going to work temporarily. If it will work as we scale, then let's do it. I'm open. So we're currently in the process of going through all of our SOPs, updating, checking, refining. Because when they were first written, ChatGPT wasn't even a thing. And now we use ChatGPT in every part of our business. Like, it's so ingrained. But now I'm like, ChatGPT actually writes our SOPs. Like, that's literally how ingrained it is. We'll record a Loom video, upload the transcription, and it'll like, use our SOP template, write the SOP based on this. Done. So easy. So it's making sure that the SOPs we have in place now are accurate but also ready for us to work when we've got like 130, 200, 400, 500 clients. So yeah, systems and SOPs.
I love, because I'm a nerd, IT, I love the granularity of your answer. So because a lot of people find it very hard to write, but you do very similar to myself. You'll do a video on Loom. I use Teams because I'm a Microsoft kind of guy, but you can just transcribe into Word, don't you? Our Teams is phenomenal. Teams and Copilot are a powerful duo. But you record it, you transcribe it, and then you go straight to ChatGPT to say, put this into our template. And I think that's just so powerful for business owners of any size, because we can all do that. Whether you've got one employee, no employees, and you're trying to replicate yourself, whatever it is, that's a really nice, simple, and effective way. That's lovely advice. Thank you for that.
So I started writing the SOPs, and the quality was all hit and miss. This was like 3 years ago when I read the E-Myth book. That book changed my business then, and I'll keep going back to it, and it will change my business again in the next 12 months. So we use ChatGPT, but we have a Teams account, and this is really key. So it costs us over £200 a month to have that subscription, but it's £200 a month saves us untold amount of time. I couldn't quantify it, how much time it saves us from all of the team who use it. So, and you can share chats with other people as well. So I can create a custom GPT, which is not difficult to write. Everyone thinks it's really hard, and it's not. You can actually use ChatGPT to help you write a custom GPT. It's not hard. And it'll be like, I want to create this SOP template. It's got to have X, Y, Z in it. This is the layout. And then I'll say it's going into ClickUp, because that's our project management tool. Help me build out the library. And I've got this full-on chat, and it's like built out all of like the library with links and tables and everything. And I literally share that chat to my operations manager, and I'm like, right, this is your project for the summer. Go through with, she has an assistant, go through with your assistant, all of the SOPs in place, make sure every single SOP is relevant, it's up to date, it follows this workout, it follows this, here's the chat. Like, you don't have to then go away and redo it. It's all there, ready, just use this chat. There you go. I love it. He's even got a name. He's called Chad.
I found a real pivotal piece in my business was that I'd get a member of staff, and I know that you're not a fan of Teams, Hazel, but I would say we'll do a training session and we'll do it in different locations because I want to record it on Teams. Because I think when you train somebody in an old school fashion where you say, bring your pen and paper over, write down these steps, and if they're not doing that again for 2 or 3 weeks, they will undoubtedly ask you 10, 20 questions, which you'll find frustrating, because obviously you've given the best training session in the world and it couldn't have been any better. And they'll find frustrating because they don't, charming as we all are, they don't want to ask questions. Whereas with a video reference, they can just press play and they can go, oh, that was what he did. Oh, that's where he clicked. That's what, right. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. So it's very similar concepts. I like it.
Yeah, so to underpin that, so we've had an external provider make loads of dashboards within ClickUp. So we track, it sounds really corporate, we track KPIs. So we all know what a KPI is, a key performance indicator. Each of the different teams have their own KPIs. So, and it's all automatically tracked within ClickUp. So this lady created us some dashboards. Now she tried to teach me how to add the data, and I was just like, I haven't got time for this. Like, literally my time is, I just can't figure this out. I've got a new operations manager starting in the next couple of weeks. Do a training session with her because it's going to be her role. So they had their training session yesterday, and I said to them both separately, it's like, make sure you record that call. And they were like, why? And it's like, because then you're going to take that transcription and you're going to put it into ChatGPT, and you're going to create your own SOP so anyone can pick it up. And the team are like, Hazel, why are you so obsessed with SOPs? And I'm like, well, I'm not being funny, guys, but if you got run over by a bus, no one would know what you do. Like, I'm trying to future-proof the business so that everyone can all do the same, everyone's job. And then they're like, all right, yeah, I get it now.
I tend to word it differently. So I tend to say it's because I want to pay you more money. I want you to create more value. And if we can standardise the boring stuff, then we can get other people to help take that admin off you, and you can then look to move to the next level, or you can look to stay where you are. Because I think, maybe it's IT people that are more harder to incentivise.
Yeah, it's definitely IT person. I also have this other trick as well that someone said to me. Sorry for being really insulting there.
Standard. I can say it, Hazel, but you can't. I'm afraid that's
okay. So someone said to me, if you're struggling if you're writing all these SOPs but your team aren't following it and they're still coming to you ask for questions, someone said to me, just ask them this question. I was like, right, okay. In fact, it was my business partner. So, we had an apprentice who was asking us loads of questions, and I was like, this is where you find the information. He's like, yeah, I've looked, but I don't know where to find it. And I just went back with, what would you do if I was dead? And he went, well, I'd probably ask this person. I was like, well, there you go then, go and do that.
I was going to suggest taking a week's holiday, but I mean, you've gone straight in there, Hazel, with some...
But it's just such a simple question, but it's so powerful. And I actually used it on Claire, who's been with me for 4 years last week. I've only used it about 4 or 5 times, and I used it again last week, and she was WhatsApping me. I was on my day off, and she was like, I can't even remember what the issue was. I was like, Claire, what would you do if I was dead? And then she was like, well, that's a bit dramatic. I was like, well, seriously though, what would you do? And she's like, well, I'll probably do this, and this. That's exactly the right process. Go and do it. You know what you're doing. Have a bit of self-confidence. So yeah, it's funny. I love that sentence.
I think there are so many questions I could still ask you, Hazel, but I am very conscious of everybody's time. The one thing I just want to quickly touch on, if it's okay, is the journey to getting an investor into your business and relinquishing all of that control of your COVID baby, as we started with. Just talk to us just a little bit about that and that journey and the emotion around it as well, I think.
I mean, I think there's so much there. It's probably a podcast in its own right. So if you want me back for a second episode, I'm more than happy to come back. But I initiated it. It was initiated by me. So I found the person. He's very well known. He's got a very excellent reputation within the dental industry. He has a complementary business, but we're not competitors. And it was very much a business decision. It wasn't, oh, I think it'd be cool to have a business investor. It was, who can I partner with on a professional level that can help my business to grow? So I sent him some Christmas cookies, and then he didn't message me, he didn't reply after January. I was very annoyed. So I messaged him on LinkedIn and I was like, you're a bit rude. Like, I sent you some like Christmas cookies and you didn't even reply. Like, how rude are you? And he messaged me back. He was like, oh my God, I'm really sorry I didn't get them. My team ate them on me. Like, how are you? And I was like, oh my God, I feel like such a muppet. But it just broke the ice. And then we had a few conversations on Zoom. And at that point, I had no idea what my business was worth. So I probably could have got a higher investment than what I did. But it's fine. So he invested a substantial amount of money in my business. I gave him 35% of my business. And he's now come on as a mentor. So we meet each other once a fortnight on a Thursday, and we set targets and goals. It's an opportunity to like let out frustrations and vent. And it's also a two-way thing as well. So because we've worked together now for 3 years, like I hear, like he uses it as an opportunity to vent and things about like his team. So it's a really nice collaborative session. But predominantly he is there to mentor me, and that is written into the shareholders agreement that he has to provide, X amount of support to me to allow me to facilitate the business to grow, because ultimately it's in his interest too. So yeah, I think when you are looking for an investor, you obviously got to be strategic on who it is that you choose, and also make sure that you actually get on well, because this person is like a second husband. You've really got to get on well with them.
Does your husband know that it's a second husband? I'm only joking, Hazel. Quick question, because I'm also just describe for me the emotion or the thought or the problem that you were going to overcome. Because I'm guessing that you've had a sit down moment where you've said, do you know what, I need to bring an investor, or I'd like to bring an investor on board. What led to that decision? What made you think I'm going to get an investor?
I just thought it'd be cool. Honestly, this is what I was trying to say before. Like, I just make a decision and just go, oh, let's do it. Like, there's a lot of the time there's no like rhyme or reason or anything behind it. Like, oh, let's just do that. I thought it'd be cool. I thought it would be nice to have someone in the business with me who understands the business to work with, and I've definitely got that. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, we weren't strapped for cash and we needed it. It wasn't like a cash injection.
Love it.
We'll just wrap up.
Yeah.
I think you shared about 10 what one things in the episode. There's loads of really good things in here.
I think your brilliance, Hazel, is that you speak from the heart, and so you actually tell things as you perceive them, rather than giving the answer that people want to hear or you feel they want to hear. Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it.